The wind carried the scent of oil and sand through the streets of Hassi Messaoud, a dusty Algerian town built on crude and sweat. Daniel Pierce adjusted his sunglasses as he stepped out of the company jeep, the desert sun cutting through his hangover. He'd been in Algeria for 3 months, sent by an energy conglomerate from London to audit drilling operations. Officially, he was there for compliance checks. Unofficially, he was there to find out who was bleeding millions from the books. His translator and local guide, Karim, greeted him with a tired smile. "They don't like outsiders asking too many questions here," he said, lighting a cigarette as the hot wind whipped his shirt. Daniel gave a half-smile. "I don't like being lied to." They drove toward Rig 17, an isolated site 30 kilometers out into the dunes. As the road disappeared into endless golden waves, Daniel's mind replayed the encrypted emails he'd received, anonymous warnings claiming a black market siphoning network was operating beneath the rigs. Fuel, data, even people, sold off in the dead of night. When they arrived, Rig 17 looked like a skeleton on the horizon. A handful of workers loitered near the shade of a generator. Their eyes followed Daniel as he stepped out, his clipboard looking strangely foreign in the desert's raw silence. The site manager, a heavy-set man named Boutelja, greeted him coldly. "We've had enough inspections this year," he said. "No more delays." Daniel nodded calmly. "Then this won't take long." But as the hours passed, the accounts didn't line up. Fuel records were inconsistent, payrolls inflated, and one of the night engineers, listed as active, had been dead for 2 years. When Daniel pressed for clarification, Boutelja's tone turned icy. "These are Algerian matters. Don't dig too deep, Mr. Pierce." That night, back at the company compound, Daniel found a note slipped under his door. "Leave before the sand takes you." He looked out into the shimmering night, the desert vast and silent under a red moon. Someone was watching the compound. A figure, barely visible against the dunes, standing still. Daniel blinked, and the silhouette was gone. He locked his door and began transferring files to his encrypted drive. He'd stumbled onto something, but it wasn't just fraud. It was smuggling, possibly weapons-grade material. And if that was true, it went far beyond Algeria. Outside, a generator sputtered. The lights flickered. Then, the sound of tires crunching gravel. Daniel's pulse quickened. He looked through the slats of the blinds just in time to see Karim's truck pull up. Karim burst in moments later, breathless. "You're not safe here," he whispered. "They know what you found." "Who's they?" Daniel demanded. Karim hesitated. "Not just the company. There's another group. Locals. Militants. They're using the rigs for transport." The wind howled outside, sand scraping against the windows like fingernails. Daniel looked toward the desert. Somewhere out there, under the cover of dunes and night, men were moving things no one was supposed to see. He packed his laptop, slid the hard drive into his jacket, and followed Karim into the dark. The headlights of the jeep cut through the sandstorm as they sped east. "What's in the shipments?" Daniel asked. Karim didn't answer for a long time. When he finally did, his voice was barely audible over the storm. "Uranium." They drove for nearly an hour before the jeep coughed and died, swallowed by the endless desert. Karim cursed and kicked the door open. The wind had turned violent, gusts tearing across the flat expanse. "We can't stay here," he shouted. "There's a maintenance shack a few kilometers east. Old French telecom outpost." Daniel shouldered his bag and followed him, boots sinking into soft sand that seemed to shift beneath every step. The horizon vanished behind curtains of dust, and by the time they found the rusted shack, night had fallen. Inside, the air was thick and dry. Daniel sat on the cold floor, coughing. Karim lit a lantern, its glow casting their shadows against peeling walls covered with faded Arabic graffiti. "Who do these shipments belong to?" Daniel asked. Karim looked exhausted. "There are people who buy what governments can't sell. Old uranium stock, abandoned equipment. Some of it disappears during transit, gets buried in contracts. Algeria's south is full of holes, legal and literal." Daniel frowned. "And the company's in on it?" Karim nodded slowly. "You've seen the payrolls. Fake workers, fake deliveries. They hide the missing material under bureaucracy." A low rumble rolled through the ground. For a moment Daniel thought it was thunder, but the rhythm was wrong, mechanical, deliberate. Headlights appeared through the storm. A convoy. Karim's face drained of color. "They found us." They killed the lantern and crouched behind the wall. Through a crack, Daniel saw men stepping out of the trucks, dressed in oilfield uniforms but armed with rifles. They spoke in hushed Arabic, scanning the dunes with night vision goggles. Daniel clutched his jacket, feeling the hard drive press against his chest. Karim whispered, "If they catch us, they'll bury us where no one will ever find us." When the men split up, Daniel gestured toward the back. They slipped out into the storm, moving low. The sand burned their eyes, but adrenaline carried them forward. Behind them, voices shouted. A flare shot up, painting the dunes red. Karim stumbled. Daniel turned back, helping him up, but the glow revealed their footprints. Gunfire erupted. Bullets ripped through the sand. Daniel dove behind a rock formation, dragging Karim with him. "We need to get to In Amina's," Daniel shouted. "There's a British consulate office there." Karim gritted his teeth. "It's a long way. We'll never make it on foot." The shooting stopped. The wind carried faint laughter from the direction of the trucks. "They're toying with us," Daniel whispered. Hours later, when the shooting had ceased and the storm had quieted, Daniel crawled out. The trucks were gone. The dunes, however, looked different, disturbed, as if something large had been buried recently. Karim found a piece of twisted metal half buried in the sand, a radiation warning sign. "Jesus Christ," Daniel muttered. Karim nodded grimly. "Now you understand why they can't let you leave." They pressed on through the freezing night until the first hint of dawn bled across the dunes. But before they reached the next ridge, Daniel saw something that made him stop cold. Tire tracks heading east, the same kind as those from the convoy. They weren't running away. They were being herded. By midday, their lips were cracked and their water nearly gone. The desert had a cruel silence, broken only by the faint hum of distant engines. Daniel's head throbbed from dehydration. Karim walked ahead, clutching a compass that spun erratically. When they finally saw the rusted outline of a pipeline facility, Daniel almost laughed from relief. Rows of derelict storage tanks stretched toward the horizon, sun-bleached and forgotten. But one section still glimmered, new metal welded over old steel. "They're still using this place," Karim murmured. They crept closer. Faint voices echoed inside the main building, French, Arabic, and English mixing in hurried tones. Daniel crouched behind a broken wall and peered through a crack. A handful of men in clean company gear were moving crates into a cargo truck. The crates were marked geological samples in neat corporate stencils. But Daniel knew that wasn't what was inside. "Stay here," he whispered. He crept toward the nearest truck, sliding under its chassis. He pulled out his phone and started recording, catching fragments of conversation. Shipment goes tonight. French border route. Make sure the foreigner is taken care of. No loose ends. His pulse hammered. He uploaded the video to a secure cloud folder, just in case. When he crawled back out, Karim wasn't where he'd left him. Karim! A voice behind him answered, quiet and tense. You shouldn't have come here. Daniel turned slowly. Karim stood there, rifle in hand. His face was pale, conflicted. I tried to get you out, he said. But they knew. They have my family. Daniel's throat tightened. So what now? You kill me. Karim looked away. They'll come soon. You need to disappear. He tossed Daniel a canteen and a set of old keys. There's a jeep hidden near the ridge. Take it. Head north, toward Tugort. Before Daniel could speak, shouting erupted near the trucks. Karim ran toward the commotion, yelling orders to divert suspicion. Daniel hesitated for only a second, then ran. He found the jeep half buried in sand, the engine coughing to life after a painful minute of cranking. He sped into the open desert, following the faint GPS arrow on his map. But halfway to Tugort, the signal vanished. The phone screen went black. Then, a voice came from the jeep's radio, crackly, distorted. Mr. Pierce, it said, in accented English. You've seen too much. He slammed the brakes. The radio hissed again. You think this is about oil? About money? No. You're standing on something bigger. A relic of another war. A secret buried in the sand before you were born. Static. Then silence. Daniel threw the radio aside. The sun was setting again, and shadows stretched long over the dunes. In the distance, a dust plume rose, vehicles moving fast. His heart sank. They were coming. Night fell like ink. Daniel drove with the headlights off, guided only by moonlight and instinct. The hard drive in his jacket felt heavier than ever. The jeep sputtered again and finally died. He abandoned it, hiking toward a faint light flickering on the horizon, an old drilling complex. He slipped inside through a side door and froze. Below the main floor, through a metal grate, he saw an eerie blue glow pulsing faintly from underground. A hum vibrated through the structure. It wasn't oil down there. It was something radioactive. Footsteps echoed. Daniel ducked behind a stairwell as 3 men entered. One of them was Butelja. The manager's calm voice carried clearly. We can't keep it hidden forever. The foreigners are asking questions. Another man, French accent thick, replied, Then we make sure the right people see the wrong answers. And the rest, buried here. They descended into the lower chamber. Daniel followed quietly, his phone recording again. The tunnel opened into a vast underground vault. Inside were metal containers, all marked with radiation symbols and serial codes that looked decades old. Soviet, perhaps. Karim's voice startled him. You shouldn't have come back. Daniel turned. Karim stood at the entrance, gun trembling in his hand. His eyes were red, his face streaked with sweat. They'll kill me for helping you, he said. Then help me end this, Daniel pleaded. We expose them. Send the files to the press, to Interpol, anyone. Karim's jaw tightened. You don't understand. This isn't just Algeria. These containers were left after the French nuclear tests. Buried. Forgotten. Now they're being sold off piece by piece. Before Daniel could answer, shouts erupted from the corridor. Butelja and his men had seen the light. Gunfire tore through the chamber. Sparks flew as bullets ricocheted off metal drums. Karim fired back, shouting for Daniel to run. Daniel sprinted toward the control room, ducking behind pipes. A bullet grazed his shoulder, hot pain searing through him. He stumbled but kept moving. He reached the elevator shaft, slamming the door shut behind him. The ground shook, a deafening blast. The vault below erupted in blue-white fire. The explosion threw him clear through a broken window into the sand. When he woke, dawn was breaking. Smoke curled from the dunes. The facility was gone. No sign of Karim or the others, only the charred remains of what had been buried for decades. Daniel crawled toward the wrecked jeep, his body screaming in pain. His phone was shattered, but the hard drive was intact. He clutched it like a lifeline. Hours later, a passing Bedouin convoy found him delirious near the highway. He was airlifted to Algiers, then flown home under heavy questioning. Weeks passed. The news reported a gas explosion near Hassi Messaoud. No mention of uranium. No mention of the men who died. The company denied everything. Daniel sat in a hospital bed in London, staring at his encrypted drive. He tried to open it the night before, only to find all data wiped. Someone had gotten there first. A sandstorm raged outside his window, unnatural and furious, and for a brief second, in the glass reflection, he thought he saw Karim standing behind him, smiling, then gone.